background is chartered accountancy. I've been a chartered accountant for a couple of years, I think over 20 years now qualified. And I worked in the industry, decided to leave industry to train chartered accountants. So that's when I then came up with Premier Business School. So we've been training chartered accountants for a couple of years since 2012. And along the way, I then picked that there's a big gap between people that are qualifying, becoming chartered accountants in terms of skill. So those that are coming from universities, coming into industry, they lack skill. And I think a lot of people here that recruit, especially chartered accountants or professions that require a lot of skill, we find that to be missing quite a lot. And that sort of created that hunger in me to say, let's try and find a way that we can produce people that are qualified enough, but also have sufficient skill to be able to do the job. So, when you put two kids qualified through university and those that are skilled, you find that employers prefer people that are skilled to those that just are academically qualified because, skill is more critical in terms of delivery, meeting turnarounds, times, and all that. So that then pushed me to say, let me start this organization to try and produce chartered accountants that are qualified enough. And then over the years, I then realized that a lot of students that are coming from university to come and do ACCA, they tend to struggle with it because the foundation at the university is not very strong. And I'm known for criticizing universities. And through my social media, I've been ridiculed, I've been shouted at. Whenever I say that, I think that for my profession, it's a waste of time going to university. Why do I say so? Because the university is channeling out raw kids, no skill, nothing. When they come into the profession, into the professional qualifications, they struggle quite a lot. So we then decided to come up with a way of our own, to produce our own. Like what my brother Victor was saying, we must eat our own. So we came up with a nice way to say, look, let's produce our own chartered accountants that we think will meet the expectation. So we came up with an idea and said, look, what happens when a child leaves ordinary level? So they go to A level 2 years, they go to university 4 years. Some that are misinformed go on to do a master's after their degree, maybe another 2 years. So that's about 8 years. So they come back into the industry with a degree, with a master's, zero skill, overqualified, unemployable. Some of them, after finishing university, they try and do a professional qualification like ACCA. They find it too difficult. After 2-3 attempts, they quit. So we said, look, this is a whole lifetime of somebody, 8 years of just trying to attain a degree and a professional qualification. So why don't we reduce that? So we came up with an idea. We said, look, let's take kids from O level and let's nurture these into professional accountants. So that's what we did. In 2016, we started this program. So we came up with this idea to say, look, let's come up with our own A-level professional qualification program. So we did. So we take kids straight from O level and they do A level in 1 year. Because we felt that it's not necessary to go and do A level in 2 years. We're just wasting the kid's time. The parent is paying a lot of money. So let's cut all that out. Parents send kids all over the world to go and do university. Come back, zero skill. So we said, let's cut that off. So we removed the 2 years A level. We removed the 4 years university. And we said, let's come up with something that is very, very practical. So we take the kids out of O level. They come to our institution and they do their Cambridge commercials. So this is particular to commercials because that's the sort of language that we understand. So they come and do their A level in 7 months. Within that 7-month period, they also concurrently do a diploma in accounting and business. And during this period, what we do is that we impart a lot of knowledge into these kids. We train them soft skills, we train them Excel, we groom them, deportment and grooming, and we give them valuable soft skills. So by the time that they finish their A-level and a diploma, they're already at a point where they're employable. But we then say, look, let's develop them further from there. So this is the traditional route that many people take. And we said, no, let's not waste a lot of time. 2, 4, how many years is that? 8 years. We're not interested in that. So we then decided to forget about the traditional route. So we take the kids out of there, So 1 year diploma and A-level, second year advanced diploma, and then final year they get their professional qualification. So that's 3 years. So what we have done there is cut this period from 8 years to 3 years. And most professional qualifications in the world, they've now partnered with universities. So when somebody is doing a professional qualification without doubling their effort, they also get a degree along the way. And that's what ACCA has done with Oxford Brookes University. So we said, so why should somebody go out there, spend 8 years toiling around, and then come back with zero skill? So we cut that 8 years down to 3 years. And now, within the 3 years, the child is qualified with practical skills. And along the way, we attach them to a couple of our partners that we work with. So they go there for 4 or 5 months. They learn practically what's happening in the industry, and they try and apply what we teach them in class. But over and above that, we also try to instill a lot of ethics in them. We know in Africa, this is something that we don't talk about a lot. Hard to apply, but we said, no, let's try and groom these youngsters to become professional, ethical young accountants. And those that we've developed over the years that have gone into the industry do so well. And by the time these kids go into industry after 3 years, their fellow friends are doing their first year in university. So that's the big difference it makes. And by the time they finish university, come to do a professional qualification, our kids are already 5 years ahead with experience. And that's quite valuable, because it is the experience that will then differentiate the kids at a certain point. So we feel that that experience is extremely critical. And we've received so much good feedback from our partners that take these kids, and even from their parents. From a cost point of view, this is probably 10 times cheaper than sending a kid to whichever university of your choice to go and do an accounting degree, and then come back again to do a professional qualification. So it also saves the parent a lot of money. And at the same time, they do this program coming from home. So the parents are in charge, they're in control, as compared to sending kids elsewhere in a foreign country where they live on their own. So which is quite nice as well. So in comparison, traditional and the new PBS route, quite nice. So the choice is for parents and kids out there to decide what they want to do. But we certainly feel that the 5-year difference there makes a huge difference in the development of the child, because in that 5-year period, not only are they learning, but also starting to earn some money, which is quite cool. As part of our program, we also participate. Some of you may be aware of the Finance Indaba that takes place in South Africa every year in October. And every year our kids participate. So in 2018, our kids came out first in the competition. So here we were given a case study where we were advising the board of a South African brewery company that was looking to acquire a Nigerian brewery company. So they were looking at strategic aspects, operational aspects, and all that. And it was a very tough competition, competing with kids from university from all over the world. But they came out first. So it was quite good. And the kids, these 3 in particular, were so brilliant. And now they're in the industry working. So we track and monitor how they're doing. And this particular experience is a unique experience where they learn how to, what happens in the industry from such a young age. So we've seen really brilliant results coming from this particular program. So this is basically what we do at Premier Business School in terms of this particular program, although we have other programs that run in the background, but this is in particular what I wanted to share. So when I was walking through this journey of professional accountancy, I realized that accounting is boring at a later stage in my life. So my advice to you is that unless if it's very urgent, don't make a chartered accountant a CEO. What? Yes. Because, chartered accountants, they're trained to think in a particular way. Personally, I think that you've got to be an entrepreneur to be a successful CEO. If you're an employee type of chartered accountant, you're a dangerous CEO. Because all they see is cutting costs. When marketers come with a budget for a campaign, they want to cut costs. So are there any chartered accountants in the house? Okay, brilliant. So I moved on from chartered accountancy and I decided to be a farmer. Why did I move to be a farmer? Because I realized that everyone in here eats. He was talking about watermelons. I farm watermelons. So I thought, no, let me do something that everyone eats. So when I decided to incorporate farming into my business, next slide, I said, look, let me do something different. So I started keeping chickens. Did you guys know there's a difference between wuku and chickens? Wuku is a chicken. Chickens are chickens. So I started keeping 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 chickens. So I Yeah. So when I started doing poultry, I started keeping huku. So I bought 4,000 chicks of huku. And then after a couple of months, I realized they were not chickens, but they were huku. So I slaughtered all 4,000. I switched to keeping chickens. So when I started keeping chickens, I then realized that no, this is actually something that's quite profitable as a business. So I figured there's a big space and opportunity in farming where technologically a lot of people are still using traditional methods of farming. So we decided to develop an application, a poultry application, and we're already developing our second application, which we are calling Farming Guide, which will track produce from the farm to the store. So those that are doing organic farming and stuff like that, they will benefit from that application because we can be able to tell the farm where that produce is coming from. So we expect to have that one up and running by the end of the year. But I'm here to talk about the first application, which is the Poultry app. So that's the name of the application. It's called Huku. It's been an exciting journey for me when I started doing poultry. But basically what this application does is, a lot of us here are afraid of doing poultry. Why are we afraid? Because number one, we don't know how to keep chickens. Number two, we have no market. So we are afraid, who will I sell my chickens to? So this application here is what I've developed to try and help us do that. So these are the chickens I was talking about. Do you see the difference between a chicken and a huku? Then I discovered that there's a black chicken. One of the most expensive chickens in the world is the guy in the corner. A pair of those cost $5,000. That guy in the corner. So the meat is black. Everything about him is black. Very unique. Do you see why now that is a chicken? Yeah, huku cost $4, isn't it? This one is $5 a pair. So we keep these. And we breed them with a hatchery, so we breed these and sell. And it's quite a unique and very, very profitable business. But I'm not here to talk about these chickens. I want to move more into the application. So would you eat these ones? Or would you keep these as pets? You'd be evil to eat this nice, beautiful chicken. Okay, cool. So the application, what it does is that it's a guide to help you keep chickens even without experience. So even for those in the diaspora who are running chicken projects in Zim, this will be quite nice. So what it does is that you create a file run in the application. You receive the chickens that you've got into the application. The application will tell you how much feed to give every day. It will tell you when there's an upcoming vaccine. So most people, when they keep like broilers, you go and buy 1,000 chicks for broilers. They calculate for you how much feed you need. And then you lose 200 along the way. But at the end of the 6-week cycle, when you go to the place where you're doing your project, there's some feed that those 200 chickens should have eaten. You will not find it there. Either the guys have sold it or they overfed the other chickens. So when I came up with this idea, this application does some calculations for you. So it tells you how much feed to give every day. So if you have any chickens that die, you record them into the system, and it will reduce the quantity of feed you feed every single day. So it means at the end of a cycle, we expect to see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bags of feed sitting there somewhere. It means in your next cycle, you buy less 5, less 6 bags. So the idea was to try and increase profitability for those who are in poultry. And then it also tells you about upcoming vaccines, which is quite nice. So now it means you don't need to be an expert to keep chickens. All you need to do is have this application on your mobile phone, which is quite nice. So you will not miss any vaccine, and your risk of mortality will also be quite low. When it comes to the market, everyone is worried about the market. So what we did is that we created what we're calling the marketplace on the application. So where we are trying to meet those that are selling with those that are buying. So even if you don't keep chickens, but everyone here eats chicken. So we are trying to make people meet those that are keeping chickens and those that are eating chickens. So you'll be able to reach out to everyone who is within a 20-kilometer radius from your location, and you can be able to buy or sell your produce, be it eggs, be it live chickens, be it dressed chickens, be it whatever you are selling poultry related. You'll be able to reach out to as many people. So this application has got a lot of reports that help you to understand whether you're doing things right or wrong. So things like weights of the chickens, you can record your weights there, and the system will tell you weekly whether you're doing good or bad. Your laying percentages, you can record them in there as well. Your mortality. So it will basically tell you whether what you're doing is good or bad and compare that to standard. So whether you're here in Nyanga and your project is running in Arara, you've got everything on the palm of your hand. So you can be able to manage your business from here. So this is what the Chartered Farmer has decided to do. I'm no longer a chartered accountant, by the way. I'm now a chartered farmer. So that's what we're doing. Thank you very much.
Right, the chartered farmer. I'm always amazed by these pivots that people make in life. And I suspect that in here right now, there's somebody who's figuring out, I'm not enjoying this. How do I turn from being a chartered accountant to growing chickens to starting Premier Business School? Help us as we're having this conversation. Somebody's in that space, that moment when you decide, being a bean counter, enough of this. I want to start a business school. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, thank you, Trevor. I think that comes with passion. You need to have that hunger inside you to want to be an entrepreneur. It's not an easy journey. There are a lot of lessons learned, losses made along the way. But I think you have to have that conviction inside you to say, look, this is something that I really want to do. Money aside, passion, I think that is what is critical. That passion and self-belief that I'm interested in this and I want to do it. I think that is what is very critical. That's the trigger for me.
As you're talking, I'm looking at Nkosana Moyo, and I know, Nkosana, you've been through a pivot of your own. A pivot that comes when you hit 60, when you think, I don't want to be a CEO, I don't want to be sitting on, I want to be my own boss, and you start Minds. Without being too difficult, Nkosana, share with us that experience of, I want to do something else. I want to do something different. I want to pivot. Is it a painful place? Is there tension? Talk to us about that place. I say being difficult because Nkosana can be very difficult.
I don't think I'm difficult at all. What I was going to say is, it's a very difficult question because I think you can't generalize the answer. And that's really would be my observation. And the reasons behind changing path, will be many.
What were yours? What were yours?
I don't want to have a boss. What may surprise people in this room is that I've done Minds, I started from scratch. There's a Pan-African think tank. I've not been paid a penny up to today. I do it for money. So it was not to do with money. Yes, of course, I had enough savings to support my family and what have you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it that way. So for me, it's a passion I have about our continent and our country, which is all-consuming because I really believe that we don't need to be where we are. But I also believe that things don't happen on their own. You believe in something, you have to invest in it yourself. So that's what.
Nick, sitting next to Nick Vingirai, my dear brother, sitting next to Nkosana, have you had the tension? I want to move away from what I'm doing. I want to pivot and do something else. Nyasha, I'm going to come to you too. I'm going to all the white heads around the room.
Well, I haven't had any tension, maybe because I went into the area in which I belonged. But interestingly, I started as a mine surveyor. I'm a mine surveyor turned banker. But when I did that...
Mine surveyor turned banker.
Yeah.
Wow.
When I did that, it was not really out of tension. I only discovered later that the reason I fitted in both is because it's a numbers game, either way. So my fabric is numbers. So anything numbers, I'm there, but there will be one particular area that captures my fancy. And that's why I'm where I am.
Right.
Yeah, but I didn't have any tension. And I agree with Nkosana when he says you can't really generalize the answer. Yeah. I love it. I love what I'm doing. And I think I'm the best in the area.
Fantastic. Nyasha, do you identify with what Nick and Kosana are saying on that pivot? There comes a time, some people it happens at 40, some people it happens at 50, some 60, some 70, some it never happens. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Thank you, Trevor. I come from a chartered accounting background. Enjoying my job, liking what I do, good money to take me forward. But I was looking for something that I enjoy. Do it in my own time, at my own pace. I write, I keep animals, I can sit till 2 a.m. doing what I enjoy doing and choose to sleep the following day. Nobody's going to ask me anything, any question, so that I'm able to do that which I love doing. Not for somebody, but for me.
Fantastic. I thought this conversation would be important, particularly for the young people that are starting out, that there is nothing wrong with getting to a place where you feel you've come across a crossroad of some sort and you need to make a choice. For some people, they need to get fired for them to change trajectory. I was one of those. I was fired. For some people, something needs to happen for a change to happen. So essentially, to say it's okay to make that turn and pivot. But I'm fascinated by the reasons that make people pivot from being a chartered accountant to business. So you've set up the business, the business school. Is it giving you what you expected it would give you, the satisfaction?
Definitely, yes. Nothing satisfies me more than seeing our products, our kids, qualifying and doing well in the industry. For me, that's really, something big. That speaks to my heart.
Do you miss the profession? Being in the profession? Being a charter? You were into audit with the Grand Thornton, big office, big car, big salary at the end of the month.
Yes. Certainly, I don't miss the profession because I felt that the profession, yes, gave me a lot of skills, but it was limiting to a certain fact because there are certain things that you can do, but only to a certain point. Yeah. Beyond that, you couldn't do when in the profession. So I can't really say I miss the profession because now I'm getting to do what I love to do.
You lost some money, lots of money. Talk to us about the mistakes you made. Because right now, when you're presenting this PowerPoint, it looks all very nice and very persuading to say, I might as well do huku. But you suffered some pain there. Do you want to share some of that?
Yeah, so I think when I started both businesses, I suffered losses. I think the big issue was to try and grow too fast. Because I lacked mentorship. I didn't have anyone who was more senior, who had walked the path to sort of help. It was one of those where I was trying to find my own way. And as young people, you try and you see an opportunity, you want to grow too quick. And I think that's something that mistakes that we make as young people, to try and grow too quickly. So those were very tough lessons, and I had to come back to the drawing board and say, so how do I correct this? So we then started, growing the business slowly, organically. And that seems to have worked for us. But it was a very tough lesson that we learned.
How don't you get a lot of pushback from parents when you say, going to university is a waste of time? Is that a sales pitch for you, or you actually see it working in the marketplace?
I see it working in the marketplace. A lot of parents that come to sit with me, initially they try and push back. But when I sit with them 5-10 minutes, they start to see the light. Because what we are trying to do is to say, look, let the child grow in the industry than in education. Because in the industry, that's where they're learning the critical skills that will help them to go to the next level. When a child comes back from university with a degree and a master's and zero skill, they're unemployable. So we're trying to say, look, it's cheaper for the parent, better for the student, because he's gaining more experience than just getting education.
But our culture is one of degrees and qualifications, and is that not the case?
That's an old culture now. Okay. Yeah, so the new now is that there's partnerships existing between professional bodies and universities. And those sort of shorten the time that a child takes to qualify. And at the same time, the professional qualifications are much more stronger than the degrees. So we're saying, let the child come to do the professional qualifications straight away. And without doubling their effort, they get a degree along the way. But most importantly, the skills are the ones we are trying to impart to the kids.
Any questions for our chartered accountant turned huku farmer? Any questions?
Your accounting, have you guys looked at doing anything else like software engineering in your program?
Not really at the moment. Yeah, we've just been focusing on trying to have a strong base in terms of developing the kind of kids that we want. But so I think we have reached a point where we have seen the growth and we now want to try and diversify. So we've been considering a couple of additional programs coming in, but mostly accounting related.
Thank you. A great idea and issues of attachment to partners is very relevant for training accountants. How successful are your partners, those who train your students? How do you follow up? How do you monitor and ensure that the quality is good?
An excellent question. So we've got some good partners and some that have turned bad. And there are some partners where we no longer send our kids to anymore because of the feedback that we get from the students. So when they go there as trainee accountants, as assistant accountants, at the end of the day, the roles that they perform there are totally different. So they are now being pushed around, some as messengers and stuff like that. And we're quite against that because what we are trying to do is to train the kids for them to get skills. So we have had some good and some bad partners. There are some where we know that when we send a kid to XYZ, by the time they finish there, or even if they have to stay there, we're quite happy with the development of the kids. But there are some that then promise X and then they deliver Z. So those we are trying to shun away from because then there's no development.
Are you coming across some of you sending some of these kids to partners where ethics becomes an issue? Do you find that? Do you want to explain that a bit?
Yeah, so many times we get calls from our former students saying, look, I've got a dilemma here. I'm being asked to pay X or Z as a bribe or something like that. So what do I do? But then they always come up with these nice terms. It's not a bribe, it's just a thank you gift. So they come back and say, so what should I do? Yeah, do I participate in that? Do I let it go? One of our former students became an FD of a hotel, quite a big hotel chain in Zim. And there came a new CEO who was promising all sorts of things. In the first year, they made a loss. And the CEO said, look, we can't report a loss. Remember what I said when I came in. So please fix the numbers.
Wow.
Yes. So they wanted people to take leave, fill in leave forms, even if they were at work, to try and reduce the provision for leave. And he came back and says, what do I do? The guy resigned. Yes.
Do you find that we still have young people of integrity like that?
I think we have a very difficult situation where economically people want to sustain themselves and their families, and ethics on the other side, which is stopping you from doing things that are unethical. So we do have a few, but I think the bulk of people in the industry are losing it.
That's good to hear. I think on that good note of ethics taking hold in the industry, we will give space for Dara and the new and the next episode. So thank you so much for what you are doing.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.